Yeah, that'll be the question because I think this is the last remaining Big Six team in all of the divisions. So this is the last chance for a Big Six type team to actually win the World Championship. So it will be interesting to see what, how this match plays out. I'm sure Carson, he's absolutely familiar with the Big Six. It has just been everywhere. And with a dual primal team, you certainly have ways to counteract the Big Six because of the different ways you can utilize speed, especially since Yuki is not using a Trick Room variant of his team. Perhaps Carson can then lean towards his own Trick Room version, doesn't have to worry about it getting reversed, doesn't have to worry about his Trick Room helping his opponent. He can just safely go for a Trick Room. There's not any Pokemon like Amoonguss that are really slow. The only thing he may have to watch here for is a potentially very slow Smeargle, which some players do use in order to counter Trick Room. And other than that, you do have a little bit of priority in the likes of Talonflame, Kangaskhan Sucker Punch, but other than that, Groudon likely to be a very fast version of Groudon. Xerneas, of course, very fast. And looks like we're going to head into battle here.
And we do see Kangaskhan and Thundurus leads out for Carson's side, and we're going to go ahead and see Smeargle and Kangaskhan leads out for Yuki's side. So very popular leads coming out from both players. You know, Carson's kind of a throwback to 2015. Of course, Yuki's kind of a throwback to 2014.
Yeah, we've got dual Kangaskhan out here. However, the Thundurus on Carson's side is going to be very helpful in trying to shut down this Smeargle, thanks to its taunt ability. And then, of course, these Kangaskhan's will likely go for a Fake Out. It's very risky to target the other Kangaskhan simply because it may choose not to Mega Evolve, and then its inner focus will prevent it from flinching. However, the other option is to simply go for an attack, such as a Double Edge or a Return or Frustration, and simply get some damage out onto your opponent in case you don't want to just Fake Out and pass.
We do see the Kangaskhan on Carson's side go ahead and Mega Evolve first. Most likely going to be Speed tie if it does. We do see the matching Megas right there, so it's most likely going to be a Speed tie because a lot of Kangaskhan's opt for the high speed variety, you know, training it all in speed, making it a nature that increases speed as well. As we do see the Kangaskhan on Carson's side go first, goes for the Fake Out into that Smeargle slot, gonna go ahead and make it flinch this turn, possibly breaking a Focus Sash if it is carrying one, as Smeargle's flinching, as Thundurus goes for a Thunderbolt, gonna connect onto the Kangaskhan now, doing a good amount of damage, more than 50%, as we do see a Life Orb revealed on Carson's side as a Power Punch connects onto the Thundurus, and that is going to go ahead and raise Kangaskhan's attack by 2 stages right there, as we did see Smeargle flinch before that Thundurus, so maybe he was going for a Fake Out possibly that turn?
Yeah, either going for a Fake Out or Choice Scarf. But here we've got Moody.
And we see a Special Defense rise, but that's not going to matter too much, as we do see an Accuracy drop, which is
that's pretty big. In case it goes for a Dark Void, that could be big. But getting the power-up punch on Kangaskhan is nice. However, we saw that Thundurus move before it. That's a very offensive and fast Thundurus, as we see by the Life Orb and the amount of damage it did to Kangaskhan. And being able to outspeed it means it can just simply knock it out here. It doesn't really care about Kangaskhan's attack boost. However, there is the chance of Sucker Punch. That would bypass Thundurus being faster and be able to hit Thundurus before it can move. But Thundurus known for using non-attacking moves. It can go for maybe a Thunder Wave, a Taunt to try and bypass a Sucker Punch, or then have Kangaskhan. Yep.
We do see Kangaskhan protect itself, so that's going to be a Fake Out and protect Kangaskhan, which is a kind of unusual combination, as we see Smeargle go for a Follow Me right now, going to draw away all the attacks, but Thundurus, of course, sees right through that and goes for a Taunt, going to make sure that Smeargle cannot use any non-damaging moves, as Kangaskhan on Yuki's side goes for a Frustration into the Protect right there, as Smeargle again gets another Special Defense rise, and the defense does drop.
Yeah, it's nice getting those special defense boosts against Thundurus. However, Kangaskhan could simply knock out Smeargle in one hit. However, since these Kangaskhan's are tied in speed, you know, there's always the chance that maybe Yuki's Kangaskhan moves before Carson's and just knocks it out in one hit thanks to that power-up punch boost. So it is a really interesting situation here. However, Smeargle, since it's taunted, can't do anything here. Gonna have to switch out. And then Kangaskhan usually doesn't carry Protect. We saw how big Protect was in that previous turn for Carson. However, it is so rare, so I don't really expect Yuki's to have it. But if he did, it would certainly be a good opportunity to use it to kind of protect his Kangaskhan for this turn to get into a better situation for next turn.
Right, you know, Smeargle could possibly stay in. It does have access to Fake Out, could go for it, but instead we do see it switch. So great call from you right there, Ray, and that's why you're up here with me right now to help me out on situations like this. As we do see Talonflame come out, as Thundurus goes for a Thunder Wave right now, going to paralyze this Kangaskhan, hope for a paralysis chance, and also slow it down a little bit just to make it a little bit more manageable, as the Kangaskhan goes for a Sucker Punch, but failing, as Kangaskhan on Carson's side goes for a low kick into that Kangaskhan and picks up the KO right there. First knockout of the match goes to Carson Confer of the United States, as we do, as well, I guess Yuki does get a free switch in right now.
Yeah, but we see Carson playing perfectly. He is just outplaying Yuki on every turn, making the right reads, saw through that Sucker Punch, was able to get the Thunder Wave off, not really going for the speed drop, However, it does prevent Sucker Punch from working. And then even if that Kangaskhan would have won the speed tie and didn't go for a Sucker Punch, maybe went for an attack onto Carson's Kangaskhan, at the very worst, you have a paralyzed Kangaskhan there. You can knock it out the next turn. But a great play from Carson. Minimized his risk on that turn, but maximized the amount of reward that he got by going for that kind of play.
And we do see Smeargle switch in right now, so a thing to note is going to be that Yuki is actually only carrying one restricted Pokemon, either that Groudon or that Xerneas most likely, opting to not bring two restricted Pokemon to this game.
Yeah, definitely risky to bring Xerneas against a team that has the likes of Bronzong and Groudon, so perhaps that last Pokemon is a Groudon. However, Xerneas is one of those Pokemon that can kind of bring a match back in your favor, even if it doesn't have a great matchup against your opponent's team.
And we do see Smeargle go for the fake out onto that Kangaskhan slot as Talonflame goes for a Flare Blitz, going to connect onto this Thundurus right now, going to do a lot of damage and picks up the KO right there. So Yuki kind of retaliating with a KO of his own onto Carson's Thundurus, as we do see a Life Orb on that Talonflame as it takes its own recoil from Flare Blitz, and Moody is going to go ahead and activate as we see another special defense rise and another, well, I guess another attack drop. So again, relevant boost most likely.
Yeah, not too good boost there for Yuki. Definitely wanted something like speed or evasion. Didn't get it any of these turns of Moody boost. But at least he got to reset his accuracy, because remember, last time Smeargle was in, it did get an accuracy drop, so its Dark Void will be more accurate if it is able to get one off. Of course, maybe it goes for a Protect, and then Talonflame can always set up Tailwind. However, since you're already down a Pokemon, it is kind of risky, because you imagine you'd be sacrificing your Talonflame just for a Tailwind. You'd have to hope that Pokemon you have in the back is enough to just sweep the rest of Carson's team. But we do see the Bronzong. So this is going to be interesting, because if Bronzong has something like a Lumberry, doesn't have to worry at all about Dark Void from Smeargle. Trick Room's certainly good against Smeargle. If it does end up being a fast variant of Smeargle, if it's a slow variant of Smeargle, that means it can take advantage of Trick Room, and that could be one way Carson could actually end up losing this game by setting up Trick Room, because of course Talonflame, it doesn't care about Trick Room. With a Brave Bird, it's going to be going first almost all the time.
Absolutely, and, you know, that's one thing that a lot of players opt for in building their team. You know, it's kind of a Pokemon that can function inside and outside of Trick Room, provide a little bit of speed support with the Tailwind. Of course, it also gets access to a very fast taunt, as we do see Smeargle switch out right now. Not going to want to stay in against these leads and get knocked out, as we do see Groudon come in, which can deal with Kangaskhan a little bit better than that Smeargle. Well, I guess
it'll also bring out some sunlight in case this Talonflame does go for a Flare Blitz onto the Bronzong.
So Carson also only opting for one restricted Pokemon in this matchup as well, as we do see the Desolate Land bring out the Harsh Sunlight right now. And is Talonflame going to go for a Flare Blitz? It is going to go for a Flare Blitz. Going to go ahead and target down this Bronzong. Is it good enough to be able to pick up the KO? It's going down. It does pick up the one-hit KO. Huge damage right there, but I think Talonflame might get knocked out from its own recoil right here, doing a lot of damage from the recoil from the Flare Blitz, and it does take Life Orb, and Talonflame barely hangs on as Kangaskhan now goes for a double edge. Going to go ahead and target down this Talonflame, picks up the KO right there. So it's going to be Kangaskhan and one more Pokemon on Carson's side versus a Groudon and a Smeargle over on Yuki's side. So a close game right now, coming down to the final two Pokemon on each side.
Yeah, really close. But if this last Pokemon is Kyogre, then that means Carson will be able to get the weather advantage. But if he does have his own Groudon, but it is the Kyogre, so he's going to get that rain up. He does have to watch out for the Smeargle. It will have Fake Out pressure for this turn, so we can prevent the Kyogre from moving for a turn, so that's certainly good. And then maybe Moody will get a lucky boost. Always a possibility.
That's always a possibility, and of course it's going to come down to how these two primals are trained. You know, who's going to be going first? Is it going to be that Kyogre, or is it going to be that Groudon?
Yeah, and the other thing you have to wonder, maybe it is better off if you just protect with both Groudon and Smeargle. That way, go for the Moody boost if you think that's your best chance of winning, you know, getting a speed boost. If you do go for a Fake Out onto Kyogre, Groudon can go for a Precipice Blade, do a lot of damage to both of these Pokemon, but Smeargle would get knocked out. Kyogre, it's going to be trained to be pretty bulky, won't go down to a Precipice Blade, so it is going to be pretty tricky here. Maybe that going for that Moody boost is your best option, and you just go for a double protect. But if you do have something like a wide guard, that is something to block Kyogre from moving.
And we do see the Fake Out onto the Kangaskhan right now as the Groudon goes for a Thunderbolt right now onto that Kyogre, going to do a good amount of damage, less than 50%. Gets a paralysis right here. Is it going to be able to move as Kyogre goes for the Scald right now? Going to go ahead and bypass anything at all and hit that Groudon and pick up the one-hit KO. So it's going to be Smeargle versus Kangaskhan and Kyogre, and that should do it right there, because Smeargle, it has no offense pressure whatsoever.
Yes, unfortunately the Smeargle doesn't. And there's the speed rise
that it needed.
Yeah, unfortunate. It's too bad the Smeargle doesn't have Transform either. That is a way to, you know, kind of potentially get back in the game by giving Smeargle some offensive pressure. But that was a really intense first game that definitely could have gone either way. So I'm really excited, looking forward to games 2 and 3. But yep, there's a forfeit.
There's
Carson going to take game 1.
Carson Confer takes game 1 of the finals here of the Senior Division World Championships in the Pokemon video game. One more win, and he is going to be crowned the World Champion here in the Senior Division. Yuki now needs to win 2 more games in order for him to claim the throne and bring that title all the way back to Japan. Of course, interesting thing to note about that Kyogre, it does have Scald, can't bypass any wide guard that the Smeargles really like to carry.
Yeah, that's big because wide guard has been somewhat common on Smeargles as a way to block moves like Origin Pulse, Water Spout. However, there is a chance that Smeargle has Follow Me, and that is a move that really kind of would counter Scald from being able to hit that Groudon, because if that Scald goes onto Smeargle, that does give Groudon an extra turn. So it's very interesting to note. It will come down to mind games. If we end up getting in a situation like we saw in game 1, again in game 2 or game 3.
And of course, it's a special Groudon. Usually the special Groudon doesn't have that great of a matchup against that Kyogre, so you have to go back and say, wow, Carson really picked his Pokemon wisely. He opted not to have that Groudon that kind of has a little bit of issue dealing with the special Groudon variants, right? Because it doesn't have as much special bulk.
Yeah, because an Earth Power is able to pick up the one-hit KO on physical Groudons most of the time. You can, of course, train them to be able to take that attack. Unsure if Carson, maybe he knew his Groudon couldn't take it, and that's why he left it behind. But you do see sometimes Groudons are able to take that attack. But it was very interesting to see the Thunderbolt, because that really doesn't do much damage to Kyogre. Kyogre is a very bulky Pokemon, especially on the special side. Thunderbolt it didn't even do over half. And usually, if you're using that Thunderbolt, it's pretty much for Kyogres. Sometimes Pokemon like Talonflame, in which case Thunderbolt would be better than Thunder. But against Kyogre, Thunder would have been enough to pick up a 2-hit KO. So very interesting to see that Thunderbolt, really hardly did any damage to that Kyogre, considering it was a super effective move, and Groudon's got pretty good special attack. Absolutely,
and we're ready to go here now into Game 2 of the Senior Division World Championship Finals. Smeargle and Kangaskhan again for Yuki Wata, as Kangaskhan and Bronzong come out for Carson, maybe loading up a bit heavy on the Trick Room in this mode. Of course, Bronzong can play a couple of different support roles against the Smeargle as well.
Yep, but we still don't know Bronzong's item, and we also don't know how Smeargle's trained, whether it's something to take advantage of Trick Room by being trained extra slow to underspeed Pokemon like Kyogre and Groudon in Trick Room. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. We saw last time Kangaskhan going for a power-up punch on Yuki's side. That didn't quite work out for him in Game 1. Let's see if he decides to switch it up here, though.
A lot is online right now for Yuki Wata with his tournament life on the line, already down 1 game, as we do see the Kangaskhan on Yuki's side now Mega Evolve first, so the first one was a speed tie, and we will most likely probably see Carson's Kangaskhan Mega, yeah, there you go, so it's going to follow suit in Mega Evolve as well. Is Yuki going to go ahead and just try to move with this Smeargle? Is it just going to take the Fake Out and have its Focus Sash possibly broken? As we do see Kangaskhan on Carson's side go first again, going to go for a Fake Out onto that Smeargle, the exact same move as last time. We'll have to see what Bronzong does to capitalize, if it can even move here, as we do see Kangaskhan on Yuki's side go for a Power Punch right now. Going to go ahead and set up on this Bronzong, going to do a little bit of chip damage with the 2 hits, but of course the important thing is that it now has 2 stages of increased attack. This Kangaskhan is ready to go, and it's going to be hitting very hard, as Bronzong does get to set up a Trick Room.
Yeah, so that could either be good or bad. Of course, these Kangaskhan's evenly matched when it comes to speed. Oh, let's see this Moody.
And the Moody boost goes for an accuracy rise.
Boost. That could be big.
And a defense drop, which is unfortunate because now this Kangaskhan's going to be easily be able to pick up a knockout on Smeargle.
Yeah, the interesting thing, though, is these Kangaskhan's have the same speed, so it will still come down to a speed tie. Trick Room won't help either of these Kangaskhan's, but we don't yet know Smeargle, how it's trained, if it is able to take advantage of a Trick Room. Considering Yuki doesn't really have any other answers to Trick Room, you have to imagine that maybe the Smeargle was trained to be extra slow to take advantage of that Trick Room. If that's the case, then it could go for a Dark Void with perfect accuracy, but no, instead we see the Follow Me.
Gonna try to draw away all single target attacks right now, as Bronzong goes for a Safeguard. Yuki kind of reading through that, not going for that Dark Void, coming. As Kangaskhan goes for another Power Punch, gonna connect onto the Kangaskhan again, continuing to set up. This is gonna be pretty close. It should be able to survive right now. Does hang on barely, as it now goes up to 4 stages of increased attack, and Kangaskhan now on Carson's side goes for a low kick onto that Smeargle thanks to that Follow Me, and now Kangaskhan at 4 stages of increased attack on Yuki's side does pick up the knockout on Smeargle. Again, just 1 step closer to maybe closing this game out, but of course there's still 2 more Pokemon in the back for Yuki's side.
Yeah, I would have loved to see something like a Return, Frustration, or Double Edge onto the Kangaskhan instead of the Power-Up Punch. That would have been enough to pick up the 1-hit KO. Unfortunate because now Kangaskhan does have a little bit of HP left. There is a chance that it gets a lot more damage out for Carson. So if you traded your Smeargle for that Kangaskhan, that would have been a perfectly good trade. However, Kangaskhan is still around, even though it has a sliver of HP left, and your Kangaskhan, not really a whole lot of difference between 2 stages of increased attack and 4. It's still going to be able to pick up one-hit KOs on almost anything regardless.
And we do see Groudon switching right now. Of course, we've already seen that it is the special Groudon variant. It's really tempting to go for a possible Eruption here, but of course, last game, Carson already brought that Kyogre, so you do have to respect that possible switch in.
Absolutely. Going for a fire move here is very risky, knowing that there is a potential for a Kyogre in the back. And of course, Kangaskhan is going to be it's going to be faster than Groudon, meaning Groudon will underspeed in Trick Room because of Kangaskhan just naturally being a faster Pokemon and being trained to take full advantage of speed. So Groudon will get to move before Kangaskhan. Perhaps maybe we see an Earth Power on that slot instead of something like an Eruption. And then, now that Kangaskhan does have 4 stages of attack on Yuki's side, maybe he just goes for either a Double Edge or a return on that Bronzong slot rather than something like a Sucker Punch. Maybe just attack that slot.
And we do see Groudon switching right now for Carson's side. Could possibly be dangerous, could be kind of opening himself up to getting knocked out. I mean,
yeah,
the
if
Earth
he
Power
does go for an Earth Power on that slot, that would be huge.
Yeah, as we do see Groudon on Carson's side does revert back to its prime form.
But we see the skill swap.
Going to give it a Levitate. Oh, takes the Parental Bond away from Kangaskhan. So a little bit of an offensive skill swap right there to try to weaken this Kangaskhan. Not going to be able to hit twice, as we do see Groudon go for an Eruption right now. Going to go ahead and do a lot of damage to that Bronzong. Going to go ahead and pick up the KO. Does do a good amount of damage to that Groudon because of the special bulk that Groudon lacks. And we'll have to see how much damage Kangaskhan can do with the frustration right now. Is it going to be able to pick up the KO with 1 hit? Huge damage. Picks up the KO on Groudon. A double knockout right there from Yuki Wata. Of course, I mean, 4 stages of increased attack on Kangaskhan. That's still doing a lot of damage anyways.
Yeah, at this point, the game, it's not looking good for Carson at all. He's down by a big amount. This Kangaskhan's got 4 stages of increased attack, so even though it doesn't have Parental Bond anymore, it's still going to be doing massive damage. But on the bright side, Kyogre should be able to take advantage of Trick Room here. It's going to be trained to be slow, and then Kangaskhan does exert Fake Out pressure. And most Kangaskhan's don't carry Protect. We saw Carson's did in Game 1, but Yuki's may not have Protect, so he may just have to take that Fake Out and just take that Kyogre's attack.
Yeah, and Trick Room is still up, so the Trick Room from turn 1 coming over from Carson's side, paying huge dividends for his team right now. Could possibly help him come back, but, a Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan on the other side is very threatening as well.
Oh, absolutely. Even at 4 stages of increased attack, even without Parental Bond, Sucker Punch would do a lot of damage, and they're... the Kangaskhan's are the same speed, so it's always, kind of risky going for an attack rather than Sucker Punch, because you don't know which Kangaskhan will end up moving first. If you go for a Sucker Punch, then that's probably going to get off, unless you do get faked out.
And we do see the Kangaskhan switch out right now, going to go ahead and reset its attack stages, so...
But it will also reset the Fake Out, because you will get Fake Out pressure later in the match, which could definitely be big, so I don't mind that switch.
And Parental Bond, too. We do see Groudon Protect as Talonflame comes in, as Kangaskhan on Carson's side goes for a Fake Out, targeting down this Talonflame, doing a good amount of damage just off 2 hits. Talonflame, a very frail Pokemon, as Kyogre does connect onto the Water Spout right now. Going to go ahead and pick up the KO on this Talonflame, and now Kangaskhan does get to come in to be able to provide that Fake Out support with 1 more turn of Trick Room coming in.
Yeah, definitely. It hurts losing Talonflame like that, because Talonflame would, definitely have, would be pretty good here, being able to threaten a KO onto Kangaskhan, do a lot of damage to Kyogre thanks to being a physical attacker, but Kangaskhan gets to come in. You get to threaten a Fake Out onto the Kyogre slot. Groudon can threaten a knockout on Kangaskhan, and it will be faster inside of Trick Room since Groudon is naturally slower than Kangaskhan. But of course, we know Kangaskhan has Protect. You have to imagine Kyogre also has Protect. So this could actually be kind of risky for Yuki. Carson could actually still come back here thanks to that Kyogre having the rain up.
Yeah, and we do see Kangaskhan protect itself right now. Again, a very sort of unusual moveset to have both Fake Out and Protect. As Kangaskhan does go for Fake Out, connects onto that Kyogre. Kyogre will not be able to move this turn because it will be forced to flinch as Groudon now gets to move. Groudon is going to go for an Earth Power, going to connect into that Kangaskhan Protect, unfortunately, as the Twisted Dimensions do return to normal, though, so that is still advantageous.
Yeah, but it's going to come down to mind games here, because Kyogre does have the potential to Protect here, because you have to imagine Yuki's going to want to take out the Kyogre, because that's what threatens the 1-hit KO on the Groudon. But you're going to have to double target it if you want to pick up that knockout. But instead we see the Sucker Punch onto Kangaskhan.
That is going to pick up the KO on that Kangaskhan for Yuki. And now is Kyogre going to be able to claw back and pick up these 2 KOs here as Groudon does go for a Thunderbolt now, going to connect onto the Kyogre, going to do a good amount of damage as Kyogre does go for the Scald onto that Groudon and pick up the KO. So now it's going to be Kangaskhan versus this Kyogre.
Yeah, but Kangaskhan's faster. It's going to have enough damage to pick up the KO onto the Kyogre. So looks like Yuki is going to bring this game to a game number 3.
And this is exactly what I'd like to see, as we do see the frustration come out. Going to connect onto this Kyogre and pick up the KO easily. And we are going into game 3 now of the Senior Division Finals here at the 2016 Pokemon Video Game World Championships between Carson Confer and Yuki Wata. Carson, of course, coming from the United States, wanting to bring this title back to the United States. Of course, Yuki is also wanting to bring this back to Japan. So intense matchup right now between this dual Primal Core that we've talked about all year, and of course, the team to beat, the Big Six Core. Yeah, it was really well played by Yuki in that game. I liked how he did take advantage of the more passive lead that Carson had. In Game 1, remember, he did have a very offensive Thundurus alongside the Kangaskhan. This time it was a Bronzong, something a lot more passive, something looking to set up a Trick Room. But instead, Yuki taking advantage of that, getting the Power Punch up off. Power Punch is much more effective when your opponent leads something more passive instead of leading something offensive like we saw in Game 1. That's why the Power Punch was really big in that Game 2. And then in Game 1, it kind of let him down because he just took too much damage in exchange to get those boosts. And of course, you know, going into turn 2 of that, after setting up Trick Room on Carson's side, Carson kind of thought that Yuki would be playing into that Dark Void game, but Yuki kind of saw through that and instead sacrificed his own Smeargle to be able to allow his Kangaskhan to continue to set up. So, you know, very smart reads right there from Yuki to be able to bring the Game 2 back to his side.
Yeah, but remember, Carson certainly was in a good position to potentially win that game if instead of switching Groudon in, if that was a Kyogre to come in, the Eruption just would have fizzled out. Certainly would have been a very different outcome. Perhaps Yuki still could have pulled that through with his own Kangaskhan. But if you're Carson, you certainly have to still feel confident about your team in this matchup. You have a pretty good team matchup here against the Big Six, this dual primal style of team with the likes of Bronzong and with the likes of a lot of different options for speed control. The offensive Thundurus too, it can be good in this matchup as we saw in Game 1. Maybe he does decide to go back to that since that's what worked in Game 1. When you're in such a pressure-filled match like this, and in Game 3, you probably just want to go with what works and what you're confident in, something that you know has already worked for you.
It looks like both players have made their team selections, and we are ready to get here into Game 3. Give it up for both of these players, everybody, for Carson Confer and Yuki Wata. Both players have played exceptionally well all weekend, and it comes down to this game. Who is going to be crowned the video game senior champion here, as we do see Kangaskhan and Smeargle come out for Yuki's side, and of course the Kangaskhan and Thundurus leads, which worked out for Carson in Game 1, come out for him in Game 3. Yeah, so Carson going back to what worked for him, and Yuki still going with that Kangaskhan Smeargle lead. Perhaps he wants to play it a little bit differently this time. He does know that this Thundurus is offensive now, so he knows it's going to be faster than Kangaskhan, going to be able to pick up a 2-hit KO on it. However, Yuki knows that since this Thundurus is not bulky, this Kangaskhan can pick up a 1-hit KO on it. Yeah, and we do see now Kangaskhan on Carson's side going to go ahead and Mega Evolve, not going to try to keep that inner focus ability that it most likely is carrying. We'll probably see Yuki as well go ahead and follow suit and Mega Evolve. No, Yuki does not Mega Evolve, as Kangaskhan on Carson's side now goes for a Fake Out onto that Smeargle. Going to do the exact same amount of damage that it's done in the past 2 games, as Kangaskhan now goes for a Fake Out onto that Thundurus slot. Going to go ahead and do a good amount of damage. Not going to be able to go for a taunt, as we do see Smeargle go for a Moody here. Gets a special attack rise, not going to matter too much. And we see an evasiveness drop, not going to matter too much. No, not going to matter too much unless there's some inaccurate attacks coming eventually. Of course, neither of these Pokemon will have any, and then maybe if Smeargle gets an evasiveness boost, that drop will end up mattering. But you see Kangaskhan stayed in its normal form, did not choose to Mega Evolve, hoping that maybe Carson would realize that Thundurus was threatened by a 1-hit KO and then decide to go for a risky Fake Out onto that Kangaskhan slot. Of course, Kangaskhan with Inner Focus cannot be flinched, so that is what Yuki was going for. However, now, since Carson did Mega Evolve, his Kangaskhan will be faster than Yuki's, and that could be big. Right, and we have seen Carson's Kangaskhan opt for the low kick, which is a higher offensive option than the power-up punch in terms of raw damage coming off the first hit. Yeah, low kick, very powerful move, especially against Pokemon like Kangaskhan and other heavy Pokemon that we often see in this metagame. Carson wanting to be more aggressive now rather than set up for later. And of course, Carson has to switch out, cannot stay in with that Smeargle, as we do see Talonflame come in right now. Carson reacts to that. And we do see Kangaskhan on Yuki's side go ahead and Mega Evolve right now. Unfortunately, it's a turn too late to possibly get a speed boost in terms of when they Mega Evolve, as Thundurus now goes for a Thunderbolt, huge Thunderbolt in that Talonflame slot. Carson Confer picks up the KO on Yuki Wata's Talonflame. Big knockout. Unfortunate switch right there from Yuki, trying to protect his Smeargle though. As we do see Kangaskhan on Carson's side now go for a low kick. Gonna connect onto the Kangaskhan on Yuki's side. Does a lot of damage.
Oh, the critical hit on the second hit. That is big. Double knockout for Carson.
Huge turn 2 right now for Carson. And Yuki is now down to his last 2 Pokemon. It's gonna be a Smeargle and most likely that Groudon to be able to combat against Carson's entire team.
Oh, that is big because Carson still, you know, his Pokemon are almost fully at HP here. He's already taken 2 Pokemon out for almost nothing in return. Carson reading that play perfectly, just completely outplayed Yuki on that turn. What an amazing read by Carson there to catch that Talonflame on the switch-in. That low kick just doing enough damage, especially thanks to that last critical hit.
A huge last critical hit right there. And, you know, of course, Carson probably thought to himself, maybe this Thunderbolt can also pick up the KO, but hey, guess what? I might be able to get something on the Switch as well.
Exactly. Thunderous, since it's offensive, can certainly do a lot of damage to that Smeargle. That would have been enough to pick up the KO. And you know, the rest of Yuki's team, nothing can really switch into that Thunderbolt except the Groudon, but instead we saw the Talonflame.
And we do see Smeargle now go for a fake out onto that Thunderous slot as Kangaskhan goes for a double edge right now, connecting onto that Smeargle. Gonna go ahead and pick up the KO right there. It's gonna be Groudon versus the rest of Carson's team right now, as we do see Groudon get to move, as we do see some recoil from that double edge. We do see the Groudon go for a Thunderbolt right now, trying to possibly read a Kyogre switch. We do see Kangaskhan get paralyzed, but unfortunately, you know, if Kyogre is in the back, that's heavily advantageous for Carson.
Yeah, at this point, it really doesn't matter as long as a Kyogre is in the back. No point in trying to switch it in. You're up 4-1. Just leave Kyogre in the back till you can switch it in for free and get that KO on Groudon. So this might be a couple more turns since I don't expect Carson to risk switching his Kyogre in. But looks like maybe he will.
Kangaskhan switches out as Kyogre does come out. Gonna go ahead and bring the rain. Thunderous also has access to Hidden Power. Are we going to see a Hidden Power Water from the Thunderous pick up the KO on the Groudon here?
Definitely a possibility. It is an offensive Thunderous that usually do carry Hidden Power.
As we do see the Primordial Seed, this could be it, everybody. Carson Confer could be your Senior Division World Championship.
There it
Thunderous
is.
goes for the Hidden Power. It connects onto the Groudon. Massive damage, and there it is. Carson Confer is your 2016 Pokemon video game World Champion in the Senior Division. Congratulations to Carson Confer.